Today we're going to go over Chapter 5, which is all about promoting social, emotional, and behavioral development, as you can see here. And this is going to be a really brief introduction to this chapter. But before we get on that, I want to tell you about a guy I had in high school, and his name was Juan Heflin, and he's probably dead right now. I mean, he looked about like he could probably have keeled over at any time back then. But he was one of those high school teachers that we always made fun of a little bit, because not only did he not maintain his body in an athletic condition, much as I do, for the pleasure of his students, of course, and all others on this earth who had to view him, it seemed like every day, week after week, you could predict exactly which clothes he was going to wear day after day after day. Okay? Now, why do I tell you this? It's because I'm concerned that maybe this video has a time and date stamp on it. And so you may notice that I just recorded the Chapter 4 introduction just a moment or so ago, and I was wearing a blue shirt, but I changed to a white shirt just to make this class aesthetically appealing and pleasurable for you. Not only do I want you to learn, I want you to enjoy your learning. So I changed shirts just for you. Incidentally, the other one wasn't even dirty. I'll probably wear it for the rest of the week. Okay, now that I've got your attention, let's go on to Chapter 5, which again is promoting social, emotional, and behavioral development. Okay, a lot of it is about functional behavior assessments and behavior improvement plans. And we have covered that in other classes. And if we haven't covered it with you yet, if you're taking this class out of sequence or something and you haven't gotten it yet, you will get it. And you will get this over and over because it's very important. It's important stuff. What it does is it allows you to figure out why students are engaging in the behaviors that they're engaging in so that you can teach them appropriate ways to do the same behavior with the same or less effort, okay? And fulfill the same purpose for themselves. So your goal is to know why kids are doing things so that you can teach them better, more efficient ways to accomplish their purposes, okay? Now, again, I'm not going to talk a lot about that. A lot of it will be review for some of you, and for those that's not review, pay attention to it. It is something that you want to be very, very good at because it will save you very many headaches over the course of a 30-year career. Okay. The book also talks about a lot of commercial products that are available, and I'm going to give you a good tip right here. Don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. Skim over that part of the book for right now. When you get a job with the school district, then find out which products they have purchased for your use. And then go back and look at the book or look at the supplemental materials that come with the product, the examiner's manuals or any instructions, and from that point figure out how to use what you have access to. It's absolutely not an efficient use of your time to learn all about a whole bunch of products that you're never going to be exposed to. So I would recommend you skim over them so that you're familiar with a name, but don't make it important to you to memorize every detail unless you're really that obsessed about it. And if it's of some value to you, then by all means do it. When I was in school, I was such a geek, I used to read the references at the end of the chapter, okay? You don't have to be that way depending on your goals. Be familiar with it, okay? Then the next thing it talks about is self-report instruments, and like I told you in the last chapter, anytime you're expecting students to report on themselves, you have to make sure that first, they're accurate in how they perceive themselves, and secondly, that they're honest in reporting it. So that's going to be your critical emphasis. The same thing if you're using instruments where parents are reporting on children's behavior, realize that all parents have a bias in regard to their children's behavior, or almost all, so take those things into account. Okay. Here's a critical issue. We focus in schools a lot on the idea that students should do work and they're not doing their work and he's not trying. Well, I want you to keep in mind that our goal as teachers is not to make students work unless we're trying to teach them self-discipline. Students do need to learn to do some things that they don't want to do. That's a big part of life. If you can make yourself do what you don't want to do, then you've got life figured out. Beyond teaching self-discipline, there's no reason we need to make school a punitive experience. So for students that don't think they want to learn, focus on telling them why it's important for them to learn what you want them to learn, how it helps them. Okay? If you can explain to somebody how it makes their life better to learn something, they'll be happy to learn it. If you can't figure out why they need to know it, maybe you're wasting your time trying to teach it, okay? Beyond that, also try and come up with fun approaches to learn. And that's why I love this book. It has all sorts of game activities. Instead of students doing worksheets to memorize multiplication tables, they can be rolling dice and multiplying and playing a game like pig dice or multiplication football. Okay, so come up with games or other fun approaches. And if you're going to go do this for the students that are having a hard time learning, why not do it for all your students? Why not do it for the students that are willing to learn also and willing to put some effort in? In other words, make your class enjoyable, because the goal is to have students learn. The goal is not to have students suffer. Finally, you have slide 536 on your PowerPoint, and it talks about putting points on the board at the beginning of class, making marks on the board to give students time for extra recess, and then erasing them if students misbehave. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's just bad advice. If you do that, what you're doing is creating a punitive environment where when your kids come in, the only thing they can do is go downhill. Instead, come in with a blank board, and if you've got a blank board, then what you can do is add points every time they do something right. Add little marks so that they can earn extra recess time instead of losing it. Now you've got students working towards a goal instead of working to avoid something. You can even do something like this just to keep things interesting, and I hope you can see this as take your board, your chalkboard, your whiteboard or whatever, and make little dashes like this, and for every 2 or 3 minutes students are on track, have them earn a letter. And this one, after 5 minutes, they may earn an M. Then 5 more minutes or 3 more minutes, whatever's appropriate for your class, they earn an O. Then they earn an R next, and then an E. Then you have them, so you have them working to spell out more recess time. Now, what you're doing is you're creating mystery, which makes it exciting because they don't know what they're spelling out, and you're giving them reinforcement for small successes instead of making them be perfect. Okay, so switch up your messages is one way that you can do this. Another thing you can do is you can have little notes on your board and cover them up with Post-it notes where you have 1 minute here and 3 minutes there. And when a student's doing something really great, you have them pull off a Post-it note and whatever it reveals is extra recess time. Okay, the whole idea, this is only limited by your imagination. The concept you want to get that really separates effective teachers from ineffective teachers is you want your students working to earn things that they want as opposed to working to avoid punishment. Okay? Keep that in mind. If your class is there and they're excited about getting things and things going better and being more fun, you're going to have many fewer problems. Your class is going to run much better. Your students are going to want to be there, so when you have to send them to the office on a rare occasion, that will be more effective also. And let me point out one last thing before I conclude, and that is you should never hesitate to send a student to the office. If you're about to lose your cool, if you're about to haul off and do something that you shouldn't do or say something that you shouldn't do, by all means send your student to the office, okay? But keep this in mind. Every time you send your student to the office, to the principal, or to some other teacher's class, what you are really doing is telling the student that they answer to somebody besides you. So whenever you're capable of handling the problem, handle it yourself, okay? It's not a battle, though. Do not make it a battle between you and the students, and don't do something in the heat of the moment that causes you long-term problems. If you need to be away from the student, have the good sense to recognize that. But if you don't, try whenever possible to handle your own problems. Your principals, and even more importantly, your assistant principals, will also appreciate that. All right, enjoy this chapter. Remember, managing behavior is the key to making school enjoyable for both you and your students. So learn to do it well. It's a skill that definitely can be developed. Enjoy. I'll talk to you soon.